While Kevin Feige might have successfully separated himself from Marvel's comics and TV divisions like a boss, he still draws heavily from the classic stories that originated on the page. Stories which fueled his own fandom, a fandom which ultimately fueled his mega success. And so far in the movies, he's done, to varying degrees of accuracy and depth, Demon in a Bottle, The Winter Soldier, Ultron, Civil War, Planet Hulk, and Infinity War. Good stuff. Yes, these are the classic comic book events that have helped lay the foundation for the MCU so far. So as we are about to enter Phase 4, which remains largely a mystery with only 5 films officially on deck, here are my picks for the other great comic book events the MCU should draw on next. And warning, there are Infinity War spoilers ahead. What's taking you so long to see it? Didn't you listen to the ad campaign? You have to see it the first time, at least as soon as possible. All right, so anyway, first off, the storyline that's been taunting us for quite some time now, the death of Captain America. When's he gonna bite it, right? He was supposed to die in the aftermath of Civil War, but no. Then we thought he might perish in Infinity War. But no, still alive, much to the annoyance, I'm sure, of Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie, who are waiting in the wings to pick up the mantle. Now, some of you might be like, Grace, why the heck would you want to bury those beautiful biceps? Well, first off, this is comics. He's going to come back, right? And as a carrot for you Marvel fans who are so aggressive against the DCEU, this would be a fantastic opportunity to show them up, right? Because the MCU could succeed where the DCEU failed so spectacularly, and that's the adaptation of the Death of Superman storyline. So, someone recently pointed out to me the parallels between Chris Evans' Captain America and what Superman is supposed to be, and I do think that Captain America has, talk about assuming mantles, has assumed that mantle for America today, right? But in all seriousness, to allow Cap to make the ultimate sacrifice, to get even more of a halo over his head, right? Plus a sweet death scene and return scene. Imagine the applause in the theater for that one, right? Every time I've seen Infinity War, the biggest round of applause has been for Cap's first emergence on screen. It's amazing. It's a phenomenon. It should be rewarded with this. How can you deny Chris Evans and his fans that storyline? So I think that would be great. And again, he's going to come back, so don't worry about it. Next, how can you introduce the shape-shifting Skrulls in the 90s, no less, with the Captain Marvel movie and not do Secret Invasion? I thought they were going to tease it in Infinity War, but I can respect they want to finish that storyline first, but it's got to be waiting, also speaking of waiting in the wings, it's, Feige must just be waiting to pull that trigger because he's setting it up. He's taking aim. You have a set of aliens with the powers and now the time to set their nefarious plans in motion. For those of you who aren't familiar with Secret Invasion, the name of the story isn't as descriptive as the death of Captain America, but basically it's where shape-shifting aliens infiltrated the Earth, governments, and also superhero teams like the Avengers, and took the place, because they're shapeshifters, and took the place waiting to strike, which they did in Secret Invasion, to reveal themselves. Great story. Great story. Because think about it, didn't you enjoy all the scenes in the X-Men movies where Mystique masqueraded as someone else? Well, imagine that on a cinematic universe-wide scale. Yes, here the characters don't turn to ash, they turn evil. Oh, it's so good. Wouldn't that be delicious fun, not just for the fans, but for the actors as well? Oh, acting, right? That's the great thing about shape-shifting characters. It requires tremendous acting on the part of the cast because sometimes it's just a look or when they turn a corner to sell that. I mean, in the X-Men, they cheated a little bit with the eyes would go yellow for a second, but I have faith in the Marvel actors that they can do it. Secret Invasion, in fact, could play out over an entire phase of movies. Plus, it would compel fans to revisit all the former MCU movies once, certain characters are revealed as Skrulls. That would be so good, which makes it a sweet business decision to boot. I mean, if you liked playing Who's Gonna Die, you're gonna have even more fun playing Who's a Skrull. Then finally, my third recommendation for a storyline is the House of M. Now, that's a tough one to do without the X-Men because Wanda can't utter no more mutants if there are no mutants. but she could easily utter "no more heroes" instead. I really like this one. I really did a good job reimagining it. So imagine an alternate reality, thanks to Wanda's nervous breakdown, where Cap didn't take the super soldier serum. But, he could still be alive, Peggy didn't quite, go the distance. She went pretty darn far, but, Cap took care of himself, right? So, he could still be there. Tony didn't have a crisis of conscience and was still a weapons dealer, right? Thor didn't come down from Asgard. Peter Parker, just a regular student, never bit by a spider, and so on. What would everyone be like? How would they still potentially come into contact with each other? That's the kind of stuff comic book fans live for. And I think that for those of you who only watch the movies, you would enjoy it as well. It's a fascinating group of ideas to explore, again, for both the fans and the actors. And you know who else would still be alive in that scenario? Pietro. So it's beautiful. Come on, why make Wanda slightly unhinged in several movies to date if she's not going to eventually get totally unhinged? Now, in the comics, only Wolverine, because of course it was Wolverine, right? He's like, for those of you who don't read comics, he's kind of like the Robert Downey Jr. of Marvel Comics. But anyway, only Wolverine knew what Wanda had done, that she had altered reality, and he knew what things were supposed to be like. But here, that role could easily and delightfully be filled by Dr. Stephen Strange, who held his own very well in Avengers Infinity War with the group. And hey, we could even throw Wong in there too, because China. Doctor Strange 2 could be House of M, or it could lead into it. Finally, I do realize, as I'm sure many of you have already typed down below, that there are lots of X-Men related stories that could be done here in addition. But I think it's too early to speculate on what Feige will do with the X-Men once he gets, and if he gets, I think the government's going to approve it. But let's wait for that deal to be done and to get a little bit better of an idea of what Feige actually plans to do. We'll discuss it more, though, when Deadpool 2 hits theaters shortly. So when it comes to just the MCU, do you want to see the death of Captain America, Secret Invasion, or the House of M? Maybe you want to see all three of them. I sure do. But which one would you prioritize? I think that I'm really into Secret Invasion. I think that's the simplest one to do. But I like the House of M one as well. And Wanda certainly has her fans, even though the MCU seems to refuse to acknowledge that. All right, so share your thoughts down below. I look forward to continuing this discussion in the comments section. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.